All right. Hey, here we are.
Jimmy, is it
Coach,
Jimmy?
yes, sir. Coach, how you doing?
Can you hear me? Am I good?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir. You're looking good too. We got the visual too.
Hey, I'm not the most technology kind of gifted person, so I had to have my assistant make sure. I just got a new computer here
All
and
right.
new phone, new everything. So it's been a little crazy, but I'm getting there.
That's what we like to hear. First of all, long time no see. We know each other from me being a commentator for CHTV back in the day at Carmel High School when you were the
That
coach.
okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
So I can't tell you how overjoyed I am to hear that you're going to be the coach at UIndy. I graduated from there, went on to do the radio program and TV there. So
okay.
we're closer as far as our education is concerned than I knew before. Let me start by saying, how does it feel to be the 12th head coach in program history?
It's great because obviously alma mater. Um,
Yeah.
Played here a few years ago and graduated from here. My wife is a graduate as well. So just, it makes it a little more special, obviously. And I think for me right now, just in my career, I was just looking for, it's a good time for a new challenge. And this is definitely a great place because we have everything here to win. That's for sure.
Well, I've talked a lot about my dad on here, who is a musician, and enjoyed many of the games that you coached at Carmel because he was right there with me, driving me to the games. And I know that your dad was a coach at Carmel. I'm asking you, how much of your dad was an inspiration for you to coach now?
Oh, I think it's probably the main reason that I made the decision to get into teaching and coaching. And I can go back to just growing up when I could just barely remember just a little kid 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I couldn't wait to get to the gym every day, and then uh, as I got into school, it was go to school, and then you just go to the high school and be there for practice. And I just think about those, growing up in that coaching environment and being in, the practices, the team meetings, the coaches meetings, and on the bus. It just so it just kind of became, I think, just kind of my DNA, I think. And then when I was in college, here at UIndy, I kind of made that decision to you know to go into coaching. But yeah, I mean, my dad was just he's tremendous. Being able to play for a grow up and then play for a Hall of Fame coach,
Yeah.
and then my first job was an assistant at Carmel when he was the head coach at Carmel for 6 years. So that was a great learning experience. He gave me a lot of responsibility because he knew that I wanted to be a head coach. So that was a great learning experience for me. And then I get a head coaching job, and for 4 years, when I was at Connersville and Warren Central,
Okay.
and Dad was still coaching,
Mm-hmm.
we played Carmel, and in this is a little trivia, and I don't say this often, but I was 0-4 as a coach against his team. So
Yeah. Right.
um, yeah, so no, and he's still he still comes to games. He still he still loves to come and watch, and obviously he'll give me his suggestions. And
Yeah.
luckily we haven't lost a lot in the last several years. The teams that I've been fortunate to coach, but when we would lose or if we didn't play well, I was moving on the next day. I was like, okay, I'm going on the next thing. And man, a couple days later, he's still talking about it. So he's still a coach, but no, he's been great for me. Absolutely great.
Does he hold the 0-4 record over you at family dinners and that sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah. It may come up once in a while. Yeah. I think my wife might kind of hit me on that once in a while, give me a little jab, but
Right.
but no, he lets that go. Yeah.
Um, I can remember calling games at Carmel and seeing those back-to-back state championship runs, and you really ran that program like a college program, really. How much has your approach changed since CHS?
Well, I think just core values and just the importance of, you know, um, the culture of your program. I think you can win games with talent, but you're not gonna win at a high level. And I don't think you're gonna win championships or contend for championships if you don't have a championship culture. And I think that's what we really tried to do. Just even years before as a high school coach at Warren Central and then obviously at Carmel. So I think I've carried those things, I've those core values along the way. And as far as the coaching, it's a little different. Obviously, you have a shot clock at the college level, and the game's a little faster. And I think at the high school level, there's always a guy or two on the floor that you don't have to guard, and you can kind of scheme toward that. At the college level, you really can't do that. Everybody on the floor can make a play. So, you got to be, so that's maybe the couple things that come to mind. And I think at the college level, although high school coaches in Indiana are the best in the country, the college coaches, you got to, the adjustments that are made, during games, I think there's more adjustments made, throughout a game where you have to kind of be in tune to that and be ready to make some adjustments and changes.
I had Pete Smith on the program recently, and we talked about the importance of assistant coaches. And this makes me feel old because I remember calling his name. PJ Thompson is now an assistant coach with Purdue. Mm-hmm. What do you look for in assistant coaches when you're putting a staff together?
I think first and foremost is, and it's like way up there, and then everything else is a little bit lower, is you got to find guys that are going to be loyal and that you can trust. I think that is absolutely number one. And then next would be, guys that are, gonna make it all about the players. I think can't be, about the assistant coach can't be about, worried about what his role is or, what's going on with his job. It's like, hey, you got, obviously they got to be good X and O guys. They got to understand the game. They got to be hard workers, guys to be willing to work and put in, go above and beyond and put in even the extra work. But I think, the loyalty, the trust, and then just being able to make it all about the players. It can never be about you. And I also think that, you think about that question, that's a great question. Your team chemistry and, everything kind of the culture, it kind of starts with your staff. If you don't have, if that staff is not together, and if the players can't see that your staff is absolutely locked in together, believing, and there's loyalty and trust throughout, then I don't think you can have that, in your locker room and within your program. So it all starts with your staff. So it's critical to find the right people. Like I say, it's just work hard, roll your sleeves up, nothing, whether it's, it could be, hey, you got to, go help the managers do something or, get equipment ready, because we don't have any manager here today or whatever, guys that are willing to just do whatever they need to do, again, to help the players, to make it all about the players. I think that's most important.
And correct me if I'm wrong, sir. Didn't your son, or is he playing college basketball now? I didn't know if he did.
Well, Luke, he obviously played at Carmel, and they had a great run there. Mm-hmm. I took the job at Marian after his sophomore year. He started on our team as a sophomore at Carmel. We got to the regional finals. Okay. And then his junior year under Coach Osborne, they were state runner-up, and then his senior year they were state champions. So he had a good run at Carmel. He came to Marian and was a 4-year player and contributed every year. Started once in a while, but mostly came off the bench. But he was a rotation player every year. Great leader. Just a great culture guy. Okay. And he actually had a year last year. He had this past year was his 5th year that he could have used his COVID year. But he got into a grad program that was going to be pretty intense. So there's going to be a lot of conflict. So he decided to give up his 5th year. He was a GA for us last year at Marian. And about a month ago, he's getting through this grad program and he's going to go to med school. So we're really proud of him. Just not only, what he accomplished on the court, but obviously what he's done academically and on the court. And I was telling somebody the other day, I went back and I was like, man, this guy, you talk about winning and knowing how to win, being around winning. I think he won in high school, in his 3 years of high school and 4 years of college. I think it was like 82% of his games that he was involved with. So if anything, he knows how to win. So yeah, we're proud of him.
My lead into that. What is your advice to sports parents with athletes?
Oh wow, we could talk about that for an entire program. Okay?
Yeah.
But let me just say this. First and foremost, I would say enjoy it. Sit back and just take it all in and enjoy it because it goes fast. And the parents that are kind of overboard and it's all about winning and it's all about stats and it's all, when a kid's 10, 11, 12 years old, I mean, they're missing the boat, and, they need to, just make it all about the kid and make sure they're having fun. Everything now is about, playing a lot of games. I mean, when I was at Carmel, I would talk to parents in our, the pups program, and they have tremendous programs, youth programs, but I would talk to the youth parents and I would say, be careful. Don't do too much too early. And let them, kind of experience different sports. Don't specialize too early. There may be a time to specialize, but that's more possibly into high school. And I can give my son Luke, as he came through the Carmel program, he didn't play AAU basketball until he was in middle school, really, about the time he was in middle school. And when he did play, I coached the team, all right, and only because I really didn't want to coach him and be around. I wanted to let somebody else coach him, but I thought I could set the schedule. And so we didn't play 100 games. We maybe play every other weekend. And then we got in the gym a lot more and got work done in the gym, just skill work. But we still played enough games and enjoyed that. But I think there's sometimes it's too many games, not enough skill work, not enough time just getting in the gym. And I think that's something you got to be careful of. And so the other thing is, like with Luke, he was able to play baseball all the way through up until high school. And the other thing, when he was younger, he could go be a kid, he could go fishing with his grandpa. He could go, do whatever he wanted to do with his friends some weekends rather than play basketball every weekend. We worked during the week. We did skill work, maybe played every other weekend. It's kind of how we approached it. Then we got into high school. It was a different deal. He got a little bit more, into, maybe playing more. But I think that's something you got to guard against. Too much too early, and just take it all in, enjoy it because it goes too fast. And, just be as positive as you can with, you can't be complaining about the coaches or what's going on. Just, it's not good for your kid. Just try to be as positive as you can.
This is a unfortunate reality of living in today's time, but how do you handle social media and handling all that attention?
Well, if I could, I just would just not be on it. If it'd be something, if I could take that out of my day, that would be great. Where I don't have to deal with that. But the reality is that's an important part of promoting your program, promoting your players. And if it's helping your players and if it's helping your program, and I say, hey, it's got to be all about the players, then that's what we have to do. So players have to be careful about what they're doing on social media, obviously, and we're always talking to them about that, just being mindful of just what you're putting out there, and because there's a lot of people that are listening and watching. But yeah, for promoting the program, it's essential. We got to do it. There's times when I wish, man, I just got to get away from it sometimes. Yeah. But those are my thoughts on it. But it is definitely important. You got to have it.
another coach that we know, Doug Mitchell. I was a winner of the Bryce Mitchell Memorial Scholarship,
Oh,
which is an
wow.
honor for me.
Yep.
And one guy that I met that Billy Keller. Um, I wanted to ask you because he always auctioned off his shooting clinic for kids to improve.
Yep.
What was your best shooting advice from Billy Keller?
Well, first of all, you've named three people: Pete Smith, Doug Mitchell, and Billy Keller. Those
Yeah,
are
man.
those are two. Those are some. Yeah, those are some heavy hitters right there. All right. A
Yeah.
lot of obviously Pete just got into the Hall of Fame and
Yeah.
great coach.
Congratulations.
Just a guy, a lot of energy, and good person. And then Doug Mitchell was one of my favorite guys to coach against. I always said, a lot of guys moving around. There's a lot of recruiting going on in high school around Marion County, and a lot of guys moving around. And Doug Mitchell was successful, one of the most successful coaches in high school basketball. And he didn't have to do that. He did it with his guys. He was about developing a program. And I always respected that.
Yeah.
Now, Coach Keller, one of my, again, great guy. Played for him, obviously, here at UIndy. Really intense coach. And I can give you a little story. When I came on my visit here, he was only like 5 or 6 years out of the ABA. And so when I played, I came in here and I kind of had a tryout, I guess, and he played against me. And that was not fun. I left here thinking, oh man, I messed that one up, because he kind of kicked my butt that day. And but yeah, he called me a couple of days later and it all worked out. But one of my favorite guys, he's just talking about his shooting. He's one of the best guys as far as breaking down shooting. Even today, I mean, obviously, he's been doing it for a long time, but his camps,
Right.
he would run his camps and we would work his camps. And, when I was actually in college and even after college, I would work him a little bit. And he was one of those guys where he just wouldn't put his name on it. He was there. I mean, he was there from 6 a.m. till 8 or 9 at night. He was running drills. He was talking to the kids. I mean, he worked camp. And I was always, I guess I kind of took that, that was something I learned from him. And I tried to do that then as well. As, a lot of coaches will just kind of organize and let other people run it. He was a great camp guy. His camps were awesome. And he'd get out there and the shooting clinics and the demonstrations. He was the best. And no, he's one of my one of my favorite people. Just a great guy.
Awesome. Think back to your playing days, Coach, because every player has a shooting routine at the free throw line. What was your routine before shooting a free throw?
I think I went, and it's a long time ago, guys, I think I went 3 dribbles, kind of look at the rim, 2, kind of get into, the shooting pocket. And then that was it. That was kind of my thing,
Yeah.
Now I think I didn't even know this, but I think when they announced me as coach, they were talking about when I played, and I think something about I was top free throw shooter. I don't know if that's true. I have to go back and look at the stats, maybe I told them that, but no, I think being a coach's son, you got to be able to shoot it. Right. So, all the time you spend in the gym, if you're not a good shooter, then I think you wasted your time. So that was something I could definitely do. Yeah.
I marked it down. We're gonna document it here. You led the team in free throw percentage as a senior, 83.1%. So there you go.
Okay. Awesome.
That's what it is.
There you go.
I am actively recruiting Michael Volvic to become one of your assistant coaches. This is personal to me, but how important was Michael Volvic to that whole back-to-back year stretch and the point guard essentially to your system?
That was 2012, 2013. That was Michael's senior year. Okay. My first year at Carmel, we struggled a little bit. We were about 500, trying to get the program going. And we had the guys we had coming back, Sam Kurtz, Ben Gardner, the Volvic twins, James Crawley. I think Sean Heffern was our center. He's a football player. Carl Snyder. Those guys were all they kind of got it started. And I told Michael, when I was announced as, as UIndy coach, Michael texted me and I said, Mike, I just want you to know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. I mean, what you did for us as a player those 2 years, has kind of helped me in my career. And I said, I want you to know, man, I may not be here if it wasn't for you. And I really meant that.
Yeah.
He's one of the toughest. Um,
Oh,
I'm not going to say cocky. I'm going to say just very confident. And, just leader, competitor. Just he checked all the boxes, and he was kind of the guy that made us go. With he and Ben Gardner the first year, and then like I say, Sam Kurtz was an unbelievable shooter and defender.
right.
But no, Michael was great, and 2 state championships. And what I would say about those 2 teams, that first year, nobody expected us to do that. It was kind of a surprise. The second year, we started Zach McRoberts as a sophomore at center at 6'5", about 160. We started James Volovic at forward at 6 foot, like 160 pounds. And then we had Michael, who started with James Crawley, and Ryan Klein was I think a sophomore. I think maybe he was a sophomore, and I think Zach was a junior that year. So that was our starting 5. I mean, we were small. In fact, I remember a referee end of the year. We were playing, and we were ranked number 1 in the state. I don't know what our record was, but it was end of the season. And I'm standing there during warmups, and a referee comes over to me and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "That's the number 1 ranked team in the state of Indiana." I go, "Yeah, I guess so." But those 2 teams, I think the one thing that probably most proud of about those 2 teams was every one of the players on both those teams came through the program. They were, came all the way through that program. There was no move-ins. There was no, we didn't recruit anybody or anything. Every one of those players both years were a product of the feeder system. And that doesn't happen very often. You think about it, that just doesn't happen in this day and age. And so that's what made those 2 years really special. And think about the next 2 years, we were actually, in some ways, we were better the next in 14 and 15, and could have won probably both of those as well. Didn't quite work out. You gotta be good. You gotta be lucky. You gotta get hot at the right time. And but no, it was a heck of a run, a heck of an experience.
I'd love to ask you this because I know that Coach Painter and Coach Woodson aren't calling each other, exchanging ideas very often. But how open are other coaches to like sharing ideas about basketball with you?
I think very open. I think, in fact, you mentioned Coach Painter. He's one of my favorite. Like, just I don't know a lot of Power 5 coaches very well, but he's one that I know fairly well, mostly because of the recruiting of Ryan Klein. And even before that, he had recruited some of our players at Warren Central. But he's just a regular guy. I mean, he is a regular guy. I mean, so it's great to see that their program's having so much success and what they did this year, because he does it the right way, and treats people the right way. But no, he's just a normal person, and you would know he's one of the top coaches in the country, because sometimes you get a little bit different attitude, those kind of guys. And he's great. He's great.
Yeah. Obviously you're busy full time being a coach, but when you have time to yourself, what to begin with, what are your favorite TV shows?
TV shows, you know what? It's more whatever my wife at the time, my wife Amy, there may be some show going on, and she's like, "Hey, I heard this is pretty good, so we may watch that." Like, we went through the Yellowstone,
Cool.
And all that kind of, those kind of things. What else has been popular lately? We probably watched it. But more so, I'm watching maybe college games in the winter. Sports Center, kind of keeping up on what's going on. But no, whatever my wife feels like we can watch, she's the one that kind of checks that out, and then we kind of go with it. But
All
yeah,
right. Good plan there. I don't disagree with that.
yeah.
Kaylin Clark,
Oh, yeah.
I want you to comment on that story. What are your thoughts on her coming to the Fever and the popularity of women's basketball as well?
You
Yeah.
know what? I don't think there's ever been a year like this past year where it's just, been so popular, and I think obviously she's the main reason, and it's really cool that she's coming to Indianapolis.
Mhm.
And no, honestly, I got to be honest with you. I don't, before this year, I didn't watch a lot of,
Yeah.
women's college basketball. I did. I mean, you're watching your own team, you're, watching, getting scouting reports, you're watching men's college basketball or whatever, or maybe some pro NBA. But
Mhm.
I definitely, made time to watch, some of her games,
Yeah.
and it was impressive. Um, I don't know that I've ever seen a player, like her in the women's game. I mean, she's incredible. You go back to like people like, I know she broke his record, like Pete Maravich, man, the guys that were just like,
Yeah.
average 30, 40, you know,
Mhm.
that doesn't happen very often. What she did over her career, and not just what she did in her career, but they won. That's the other thing. They won like consistently throughout her career. So, yeah, it's impressive. Yeah.
Do you follow much of the NBA? I don't know.
A little bit. Yeah. I probably, of all basketball, I mean, probably the least, but I will, Pacers. I follow the Pacers, and as it gets into playoff basketball, definitely watch the playoff basketball. There's nothing better than NBA playoff basketball.
Okay, good deal. What about and I don't know if you pay attention to this. Pete Smith is now an announcer doing broadcasting. Do you have a favorite basketball announcing team?
Team, I tell you who's really good right now is Robbie Hummel.
Yeah,
He
man. He
he
never
is,
stops working.
yeah, he's probably right now would be my favorite, and I don't know who he's paired up with that much, but I really like him as far as right now. He's like he's on the rise. I'm sure he's got to be a hot commodity in that business, because he's really, really good. He's smart. He doesn't talk too much. He gets right to the point, and he's very, very good.
Okay. Again, my dad was a musician, so I tend to go toward music. Favorite music when you have time to listen.
You know what? My wife would have to probably help me with this. I got to go old school. All right, I'll go
Okay.
old school back to maybe when I was here the first time. All right, when
Okay.
I was
Okay.
at UIndy back in the late '80s, early '90s. Okay, if I go old school, my favorite all time would be Bob Seger.
There we
you
go.
You know who that is?
I dig it, man. Yeah, of course.
No,
Yeah.
and honestly, I saw him in concert just a few years ago.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he was at the
deal.
time, I think he was 70. He just turned 70 years old, and he was in Indy, and I saw him in concert. Yeah,
Wow.
so
Cool.
it was either Indy or Nashville. I can't remember, but no, yeah. So Bob Seger, and if you want to go song, I'd say Turn the Page. Bob
Okay.
Seger, Turn the Page.
He's got a lot of hits, man. A lot that you forget
man.
about. And I don't know how long you've been around Indy, but my dad was the house band at Ike and Jonesy's, so he would do a lot of covers of Bob Seger.
Okay, there you go.
So,
All right, and I'm familiar with Ike and Jonesy's.
yeah,
especially my younger days. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And also, you said you saw Bob Seger live in concert not too long ago. Is that the best live one you've seen recently?
Chris Stapleton.
Oh, that guy too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Love
yeah.
him.
He was he was great. Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, that would be my probably the last concert that maybe a couple years ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some
Anytime.
friends. I've got some high school friends that I've kept in touch with,
Mhm.
and it's great because we got our little group of friends, and they're big time concert people, so they go all the time, and I try to go maybe maybe once a year, but it's been a couple years. So, but yeah,
Cool.
Chris Stapleton was awesome.
Anytime that Stevie Wonder and Santana collaborate with you, you're the man. So Chris Stapleton, he's
Yeah,
got my
no
seal of
kidding.
approval.
Exactly. Yeah.
To wrap up here, I normally ask players this, but I'll ask you superstitions and pregame meal too, if you have one.
Pregame meal for me,
Yeah.
I usually don't eat much like pregame meal unless we're going on the road and I'm right there with the team. I may eat a little bit, but I don't have much of an appetite, 3-4 hours before the game. So I'll usually eat a big breakfast the day of a game. I'm not a big breakfast guy, but I'll eat a bigger like a breakfast the day of a game. Do a little snack, in the midday, and that's about it for me on a game day. Superstitions, man, sometimes, now, we don't, I'm going pullover. So, we're not going with the tie and coat and tie thing with that. It's been great for me because for years I did coat and tie and suit and all that. And I was, that was as far as when the pandemic came through and all that kind of changed with college coaching. That was the one thing that like hit college coaching or really coaching in general. Some of the coaches have kind of gone back to the suits and stuff, but I'm sticking with the pullover. So from a superstition standpoint, we had 3 or 4 different colors of pullovers, and we're gonna stick with that color as long as we're winning.
Cool. Yeah.
There you go.
I like
so
that.
so like this past year, we won a 9-game win streak at the end of the year, and got really hot, and it was black pullover for 9 games. So we got in the national tournament because we lost in the conference tournament. We go to the national tournament. We went navy blue. So so I'm gonna have to go here. It's gonna have to be the maroon, red, gray, white, black. So we'll have different colors, and hopefully we won't have to change very often. We'll be staying with the same one. That's the goal. Yeah.
We'll end on a heavy one. Best life lessons you've been able to gather from being a coach and being in sports.
Life lessons would be, I think that maybe there's not one, but I think as coaches, if we're doing this right, mm-hmm. I think maybe it could be the most important thing that as we go through each season and we as a team, as a staff, as a family, we experience all kinds of things, ups and downs and challenges and successes. And so as we go through things, if we as coaches don't stop and take time to relate those experiences as life lessons, mm-hmm. And to our players, mm-hmm. That they can kind of, take with them, so hopefully the guys that have been in our program and they, for 4 years, all the things that we talk about and within our culture, and we relate things to just life lessons. I think that's what, you take from it. And so then those guys, as they're, you're successful, you have successful teams and all the championships and the national tournaments, that's all great. But at some point that's going to be done and you're going to be living your life. And if you can take those life lessons and all the things, I would hope that they're taking some of those things that we emphasize, with them to help them, mm-hmm. And I think the real success of your players are 10, 15, 20 years down the road when they're a dad, they're a husband, they're working their job in their community, in their church. How they doing now? And you stay connected with those players, over the years, and you follow them, mm-hmm. and that there's nothing better than that. When you see them down the road and they're successful, and you talk to them and you feel like, okay, you made at least some of an impact, and they took something from basketball that's made them, better in life. I think that's it.
I can tell you, sir, without a doubt, the experience that I had covering the back-to-back championships at Carmel, I wish I could go back and relive it again, because it was such a joy for both me and my family. So, yeah, thank you for doing this show and for documenting part of your story today, sir.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me on, and we're former Greyhounds, and now we're Greyhounds. Yeah. We're Greyhounds then, we're Greyhounds now, so that's awesome. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Greyhound for life. I'll be down in Nickerson in due time.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, folks. To hear this episode and all others with the program, you can follow me at JBK on air. You can also hit the link in the description to donate to the program. Until next time, have a great day and a better tomorrow.